from a guy that is not growing up with the source material of Dungeons and Dragons and not really that excited for the movie, I am so happy to say, guys, I walked out of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves more surprised than I thought. What is up, guys and Dungeons and Dragons fans? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is Brinkat, and today I'm going to review the latest action fantasy heist film, and that film is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. This movie is based on the board game with the same name, and this movie is directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, and this movie stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, Regé-Jean, Sophia, Lillis, Chloe Coleman, and Hugh Grant. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic. But things go dangerously airy when they run afoul of the wrong people. Now, for Dungeons and Dragons fans, don't kill me for this, but I have not grown up with the Dungeons and Dragons source material. I haven't played the games. Of course, I know what it is, of course. Have you guys seen Stranger Things? Yes, it kind of got me at least interested in it. But I didn't grow up with the source material, so with this movie, I didn't go in as a Dungeons and Dragons fanboy or anything. I'm just expecting this movie to be at least an entertaining, fun film. Honestly, I was not too much anticipating for the movie. The trailers did not do it for me, but I still went to go see an early screening of this movie to just get this movie done with, honestly. I just want to see this movie and see how it is. So, from a guy that is not growing up with the source material of Dungeons and Dragons and not really that excited for the movie, I am so happy to say, guys, I walked out of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves more surprised than I thought. This movie, honestly, was a total blast for me. And I didn't see any of the reviews before seeing this movie. I'm just like, okay, let's see how this movie goes. And I looked at the reviews, and the reviews are positive as hell. So I can see this movie being one of the biggest surprises of the year. The best way to describe Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is that this movie is a mixture between Guardians of the Galaxy, Ocean's 11, and Lord of the Rings. This movie is a fun, action, heist, medieval film. The world of Dungeons & Dragons looks fantastic. I love the world of Dungeons & Dragons in this movie. The special effects especially, the designs of the dragons and even the creatures look really cool. I love the visual effects of this film. There's not a single visual effects where I'm like, this looks bad. The visual effects actually look very good in this movie. But of course, let's talk about the cast in this movie. Chris Pine is very good in this movie. And the best thing about Chris Pine in this movie, he looks like he had a total blast filming this movie. He is definitely a fun character that definitely has a lot of flaws within him, but you see that learning throughout the film, and I think Chris Pine is a great main protagonist in the film. You do root for his character, especially with his backstory, you root for his character even more. But surprisingly, the best thing about this movie is Michelle Rodriguez in this film. Yes, Michelle Rodriguez, she is the best character in this movie. I loved her in this film. She is such a badass in this film, but she's also a really good character in this film. She throws down throughout most of the action in this movie, and she throws down. She is a total badass in this film, but I also liked her character and her chemistry between Chris Pine. I think it's a really good friendship chemistry, and I'll say from the roles that Michelle Rodriguez did, I think this is one of her best performances. Yes, I'd rather watch her in this movie than her as Letty in the Fast and Furious franchise, to be honest with you. But the rest of the characters are also pretty good. Justice Smith is definitely hilarious in the film. He's the comedic relief in the film. Sophia Lillis, hopefully I said her name right, that girl from It, she's also really cool in the film. I love that she turns into different creatures. I find that really badass in the film. But I'll say another great character in the film, Regé-Jean in this film. I thought he's the funniest character throughout the entire freaking movie, because he's one of those characters that takes things way too seriously. Like, he doesn't know what sarcastic even means. And it just adds a lot of humor to the film. Like, the combinatory with the characters trying to be sarcastic to him and taking it seriously, I literally cracked up laughing in the film. But we'll get back to the comedy way later on. Let's talk about the action in this film. It is so filmed well. Like I said before, Michelle Rodriguez carries most of the action in this film, but just the action scenes in general, they look really cool in this film. And just the obstacle courses that these adventurers go through, It is so much fun. It just felt like one of those adventure bedtime stories that your dad will read to you as a kid. It just felt like a fun medieval bedtime story with cool characters, cool action scenes, and just the whole adventure in general and the whole journey that the characters go through in the film. I loved in this film. The first 2 acts of the film was just a total freaking blast for me. And this film is also, like I said, hilarious. There's a lot of great comedic scenes in the film, which one of them I literally cracked up laughing. This film has some great balance between seriousness, drama, and comedy. I thought the drama also really handles well in this film. Like, there are some really good, I wouldn't say emotional scenes that make you cry, but there are some good drama scenes in the film where you're like, oh, this film does have heart, and that's what I loved about this film. It does have heart. And just the look of this movie, the color schemes, the cinematography of the film looks fantastic. The filmed action scenes are well shot in this film. And man, the directors of this film, I didn't know that this film took from the directors of Game Night, which I really freaking loved. And it makes sense because the comedy is really well in that movie, so it makes sense that this movie is pretty funny. I think John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein directed this movie very, very well. It looks like they are big fans of the Dungeons & Dragons source material, and they just show their love throughout this entire freaking movie. Another thing, the score in this film. I love the score of this film. It kind of goes through like a Scottish bagpipes music where you feel like you're in these medieval times, and it's beautiful. There are some composing scores that are actually really beautifully developed in the film, and I just wanted to listen to it the whole way home because it's just very beautiful. There are some great scores in the film, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the best scores that I've heard this entire year. Yes, this film does have problems. It's not like a masterpiece or anything, but definitely so far, this is the most fun I had with a movie this year. I would say the third act, as much as I did like still the third act, I liked the first 2 acts a bit better, because the final act of this film, it felt like there are multiple final acts that I could have just stick with one, but they decided to just put multiple in this film. And you can really feel the pacing of this film, that this film is pretty long. It's 2 hours long. You can really feel it throughout the third act of the movie. There are some certain moments where I'm like, alright, can you just get on with it a little bit? And then the film gets on with it and it still becomes awesome. But I just feel like they had so many ideas for the final act that they just put it all at once. And I feel like there are some moments where I'm just like, okay, that should have just been the final act and just get it done with. But then there's another third act where I'm just like, oh, okay, there's another one? Okay, this film has a lot of that in this film. Also, I would say the villain of this film, it's okay. It's this witch villain. She wasn't really in the movie all that much. She is cool and all, but I probably wouldn't remember this villain in this movie. Also, Hugh Grant as well. I just find Hugh Grant fine. When he's on screen, he's fine in the film, but he's probably my least favorite character throughout the majority of the film. But overall, guys, if you're Dungeons & Dragons fans, you will love this movie. And even if you're not Dungeons & Dragons fans, I think you'll accept this as a fun, medieval, fantasy, heist action film that just feels like a fun summer blockbuster. I had a total blast with Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, guys. This movie really surprised me. The characters are great. The adventure was very entertaining to watch. The action scenes are also great, including the comedy, and the score of this film is some of the best I've heard this entire year. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is definitely worth seeing, especially on the biggest screen possible. If you're not expecting this movie to be good, go in there with high expectations, because I think this movie will surprise you. I am definitely going to give Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves an A-. So guys, that is my review for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Let me know what you think of this film in the comments below. And basically, what is your favorite, product placement adaptation to a movie? Let me know that also in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd. Keep contacting with me. And make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, notified for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.